don't trust anyone as much as I trust a successful dental practice owner. Right?
Yeah.
Because I know they eat shit, right, every day, and they continue to perform.
All right, so when we graduated, Alex, I feel like you and I both bought into this, I don't know what the word is, pipe dream, goal, whatever. I feel like, and a lot of our friends too, where it was like, you graduate from dental school, you're going to start a practice, you're going to build that practice, and then your goal is to grow to a certain point, sell it, and then you get freedom, right? And you turn all your income that you made from the practice, and it turns into passive income, and now you don't have to do anything if you don't want to, and it's, you're fully free. I feel like that's just been something that's been preached a lot, either in dental circles or with consultants and all that stuff. And I don't know, we've sold our practices. We've gone into some of that passive income. And have you found that to be true?
No.
Yeah.
It's all a lie.
So I don't think this is meant to be like pooping on everyone's dreams or everything like that. But I just feel like we kind of bought into that whole dream. And I feel like that didn't fully happen for several reasons.
Yeah.
But we figured we should bring on Josh because he's kind of our like resident expert with anything like investing or income, or anytime we have questions about that, we always reach out to him. So Josh, I figured today would be cool on this episode kind of to just break it down and kind of explain to people what are the different types of income you have? What is actually truly passive income? Can you get rich off of passive income? And like, what's a good, I guess, what's the new way to do it, right? To get rich and stay rich, right? So cool. Thanks for coming on again, Josh.
Hey, my pleasure. Always love chatting. So happy to dive in here. And a lot of the things I'm going to say are not what you're going to hear elsewhere. So this topic's actually super fun for me. I can just like crush dreams.
That's the title of the episode.
Yeah.
Featuring Josh the Dream Crusher. Yeah, very good.
I'm naturally a contrarian, right? And so I love talking about this kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, maybe to start with like definition of passive income, right? So I think the definition that we all kind of agree on is it's income that can be earned with minimal ongoing effort after the initial setup or investment, right? Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Zero effort, get the money.
From the person putting the money in. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Where it gets super gray is what is minimal.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's the subjective part. Yeah.
Super gray. Okay. And then there's like IRS defined income, which is typically like ordinary income. That's what you earn from your W-2 job or distributions from your practice, right? Then there's capital gain income when you sell something. And then most people don't understand that actually like stocks, those types of things, that's another type of income called portfolio income. Completely different according to the IRS, okay? I don't want to dive into that too much today, but I want people to be aware that there's lots of different definitions of income, even with the IRS. So let's dive into passive income. One idea I had was just to go through kind of like the different investments that people typically think of, like those popular ones, and then like, is this passive? Is this not? And we could just kind of break them down.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one that most people think of is like stocks, equities, right?
Yep.
So what I love about equities, stocks, investing in stocks, it's gambling. Okay. Honors finance major here. I've never heard anyone convince me otherwise that investing in stocks is anything but gambling unless you're inside the company. Okay. Then you know the company, you're a team member of that company. The responsible way to invest in stocks at this point is index funds, right? Dollar cost averaging into index funds. That's the simplest model. Okay. Well, let's run it through our passive income filter here. Alex, talked about this a little pre-show. Talk to me about index fund, dollar cost averaging in index funds. Is that passive income. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. You do minimal effort and you take a look and you get money, hopefully distributions that come in, right?
What percent of stocks, or not even what percent, I don't want to hold you to a number like that, but how, like, do most stocks provide income? Do they provide dividends?
I probably not. Probably
Or-
not very many. I mean, I think then you're looking at minimal returns.
Yeah. So this is what's funny is, originally when you invest in businesses, you invest in a business and you get a cash return. Okay. That's how things kind of started. Our system has evolved where most stocks don't pay dividends. Okay. So now you're buying a piece of a company hoping that other people will value that company and the value of your shares will go up over time. But for most stocks, there's no actual income. And the ones that do pay dividends, it's a very, very small, like low percent dividend. Okay. So I would say that equity investing is not passive income. It's passive, there's no income.
Yeah, so
Okay,
just to
okay.
get to your point, are you almost saying, Josh, how things maybe, I don't know if this is how it was intended to be, but nowadays with stocks, right? Like, I think if you were thinking simple, you'd say, okay, I invest in a company. The company was doing $100 million in sales. Now they're doing $200 million in sales. Now my stuff is worth 2 times, right? Like if you were just thinking simple, but you're saying that isn't actually how things work, right? Like you're basically, stocks are basically, you're hoping in the future that based on a ton of different numbers on the company, their sales could go down, right? And their stock price could go up, right? Or other things could change. And you're just hoping that someone, due to either market conditions or other things, or just someone willing to buy more, will just pay more for it.
It's just like Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Like once upon a time, businesses paid cash flow, right? The people selling their business stock realized that people would buy their stock whether they paid cash flow or not. So why play cash flow over time, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, if you're investing in Bitcoin, you're expecting that someone else out there is going to be willing to pay more for it in the future, right? It's the same with stock. Someone else is willing to pay more for this stock in the future.
Yep.
Okay, it's that belief. If there isn't someone out there who's going to pay more for it, and it's not pumping out any cash flow, right? Yeah. It's all consumer sentiment, okay? Yep. If consumers decided they didn't want stocks anymore because they don't pay any cash flow, it can't help me feed my family, right? At the end of the day, if things get hard, grapes of wrath style, I can't feed my family with stock. People say, I no longer want to own stock. I want to own real things with real value that provide cash flow to my family. Okay. All the values in the stock market would plummet. All the companies would not need to start distributing cash flow to attract investors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because companies then are companies doing, like if they're doing an IPO or they're going public, right? They're doing that to raise money, right? It's a way to raise capital. But once that event happens, isn't it all between just the people that are trading the stock, like the individuals?
Yeah. It's a cash out, right? Like going public is a way to cash out. Like we know this from dental, right? Dental groups. Yeah. It's a way to cash out. Like I want my money. I worked hard, right? What do you do? You go public. So a bunch of other people think, oh, this company's on the upswing. Yeah, I'll pay you a bunch of money, right? So getting back to the focus here, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Passive income, okay? Equities, any stock, almost any stock, and even the ones that pay dividends, they're very small dividends, right? So I would argue very strongly that stocks are not passive income.
Okay.
It's a passive bet.
Okay.
All right, great. So shaking the foundations here, right? Like we've all been trained by Wall Street that like stocks, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about other things. So I do want to bring up this concept of derivatives, okay? So what actually has value is things that we can eat, raw materials. Those actually have real value, okay?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
oil that comes out of the ground, timber, wheat, energy,
Yep.
okay, electricity. Those are actual like real things, right? If the US imploded, we went like post-apocalypse here, right? And everyone's just like trying to survive. Like it's like what actually has value, like water, shelter, those types of things, okay? Every company, so that's like tier 1, okay? Every company, like think like a timber company, okay? They take the timber, the tier 1, and now there are 2 tier. They're trying to create something useful from that timber, like 2x4s, okay? And then they sell those,
Yep.
okay? So that's like tier 2, okay? Is like owning this timber company, okay?
Okay.
Tier 3 is like stocks, owning shares in the timber company, right? That gets the timber
Yep.
Okay.
and creates products out of it. Okay, that's tier 3. Okay, tier 4 is like index funds, derivatives, like everything up here. And that's where people think like all the money is, right? Because it's scalable, it's easily transactable. It's hard for me to sell you a tree, right?
Yep.
You're not like, hey, I want to buy a tree today. You might buy a timber 2x4, right? You're more likely to buy stock in a timber company like Weyerhaeuser, right? And then you're even more likely to buy an index fund, right? It's just making it more accessible to you. But the real value isn't there. The real value is in the tree.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're
Makes
saying
sense,
by the
yep.
point you're in those index funds, you're so far removed from the actual.
Where the value is, yeah.
We're just making bets at the stock market level or at the index fund level, right? In the stock market, you're trying to diversify your risk at the index fund level. You're trying to make bets at the stock level. When you're buying a company, you're actually buying cash flow, right? Hopefully, right? Or you're buying a startup, you're hoping there's going to be cash flow, right? And then if you're buying the land, you're buying the natural resource, right?
Yep.
You talk to family offices, right? Oh, where's all your wealth come from? Oh, oil and gas. Oh, do you guys do the wells? No, we own all the land that the wells are on.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, so we talk about like wealthy folks are like still active, right? You got to be monitoring this stuff, right? You can't go blind. But if you want to be the most passive, you're owning the land that the wells are on.
Okay. That makes sense.
Good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You're owning the river, right? That the municipality put the dam on, right? And they're paying you rent for that. Good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. You're owning the land that someone else is farming.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you think of like passive, I don't even know how to say that word. Passive activities, it's like I own stuff and other people create stuff off of what I own. Okay. So that's kind of like the simplest version of passive income. Good?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that tracks. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions before I dive it into a couple asset classes to kind of blow people's mind on real passive income?
Now let's hear
do
it.
Okay. So when I talk to my kids about, what they want to do in life, right? We chat a little bit. They're little. They don't like lectures from dad, but every once in a while they'll ask a question that allows me to like get in there and educate a little bit, right? And one of the things they say is like, I don't want to be an investor like you. Right? They're independent. I'm like, that's fine. What do you want to do, right? And they say, oh, I want to do maybe this or this. I was like, that's cool. So you want to go to work and be in a building for 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, right? Yeah. And not be able to work out and not be able to go on vacations with your family when you want and not, you know what I mean? I kind of like challenge them a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we talk about options that I do support for them, is this similar to your guys' situation in the Appleseed family?
No, it's just like to judge your kid. We're like, you're thinking that for your career?
So I try to plant the seeds. I let them come to their own conclusions on whether they're let themselves judge, right?
Yeah.
So one of my favorite phrases is trading time for dollars. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Dentistry is great. You got to take care of the community. You got to sharing your patients' lives, right? You got to serve others, but you're trading time for dollars, which sucks, right? When you're an attorney, you're trading time for dollars, which sucks. When you're a doctor, you're trading time for dollars, sucks. When you're an airline pilot, right? All these great careers, you're still trading time for dollars. So I'm going to give you some examples, but one little like framework in your brain is, who are the 35-year-olds hanging out at the country club all day?
Yeah. Who are they?
Yes. Who are the people?
I don't know. I trade time.
Trust fund kids.
Yeah, trust fund kids.
Trust fund kids. Truly passive. Truly passive. That was one of my truly passive examples.
There we go.
If this was like that, if this was Family Feud, you just hit like number one. Good job. Okay, who else?
At 35.
Yeah, or 40.
I don't know. Someone who probably owns buildings.
Okay, so real estate. Some real estate is in there. Absolutely. Okay, real estate. That's another one. Great.
I don't know. I was thinking of that like tech software person that sold and they're out and they just, cashed out for a gazillion dollars.
Anybody that's sold a business, right, they have like a huge nest egg. So people with a huge nest egg. And trust fund babies would kind of go in that same category, right?
Okay.
One of them actually created the wealth, the other one didn't, but they both have these huge nest eggs.
Okay.
This is good. Keep going.
Oh, there's more? Wait, this is Family Feud style, so how many are there? How many answers are on the board?
Who was pulled? Who was pulled for
Say
this?
about 6.
Oh, geez.
Jeez, so we've answered 3.
Well, 2 are in the same kind of category.
Yeah. Who else would be there? No, that hit trust funds at 35 to 40.
We're not rich enough to go to a country club. Like, we don't
know.
know who's there.
I'm so far removed. Every other thing I think of, and honestly, Josh, everything I'm thinking of is like, oh, it'd probably be like a doctor. I was like, oh, but they're trading time for money, right? So like, I'm trying to think of, because you're right, our framework of who we think of as always being like rich, right, is usually those professions that are doing that. No, because the only other person I think of, like, I just had a patient yesterday and they were older, right? And she was like, oh, my husband's retiring and he's just going to start working at the golf course just for fun. So that's what I think of when I think of someone at the country club, right? Is like the 70-year-old who's just like volunteering time and helping. Yeah. But 35, 40, I got nothing else. That's 3 X's.
Let us know. Yeah.
We're done. Okay. So think about insurance. Okay. Mm-hmm. Someone sells you an insurance policy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's say you have an insurance claim. Okay. Someone sells you an insurance policy. You automatically it's deposited from your account every month, right? Does that cause them any kind of work to do that?
No.
No, it's automated. Okay. What happens when you actually need to file a claim?
You call in and you file the claim to someone like a representative, right? And then they... Yeah.
Do you call the broker that sold you the policy, or do you call State Farm?
No, you call State Farm, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So this insurance salesman.
Oh, so they're the salesmen are at the.
You're taking it from the okay. You're saying like not the person who like created the insurance company. It's not like that. It's the broker who's selling you policies. Yeah.
Yeah, because they get a cut on.
Always hanging out at the country club.
Yeah, that is true.
Huh.
Rich guys who build a business. Their kids. Hey, I don't want you to do what I did. It was really hard starting this business, right? Why don't you go work with Bill? He's my insurance guy. He just hangs out at the country club. That seems like a better life for you.
If you like our podcast, check out Alex's newsletter, Just 2 Minutes. It's full of great advice, which makes sense considering it's her thoughts and not me sidetracking her every 2 seconds. You can subscribe at coupleofdentists.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to the pod. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Financial planner. Same thing, right? Put the plan together. You get a lot of phone calls when the stock market goes down, but outside of that, you just have like your yearly or bi-yearly meeting, right?
Yeah.
Money gets automatically transferred.
What about like accountants, or if you own like an accounting firm, is that similar?
That's a real business, right? Your accountants are trading time for money.
Yep.
Okay.
They fall in our category.
All right.
But there's a lot they have to do during the year and throughout. So those are a couple examples. Let me give you some other examples of like, so this is Hermosi, right, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that guy works hard, right? Okay. But his actual revenue streams, a lot of them, once he creates them, not so hard. Okay. So hard on the front end, afterwards, there's like a legacy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we wrote a bunch of books, made like, he said like 100 million on these books recently, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did a lot of work putting together the books, did a lot of work building up the audience, did a lot of work selling the books. If the books are actually good on their own, okay, think about Robert Kiyosaki, okay, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Does he promote his book?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? He wrote it. He probably promoted it. And when people ask about like what got you into this line of thinking of passive income or real estate, oh, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay, well, I should read that too, right? It self-propagates.
Yeah.
Right? So books. Okay.
Ooh, what about other one. Would you find it'd probably be younger? You said 35, and I was like, maybe this would be more like 22. What about like social media influencers? Is that considered active because you have to create the content?
You got to create the content, right? But you think about like music stars, right? They're always like fighting over the rights to the music, right? Why? Because it's a passive income stream.
Yeah. Yep.
Good. So
Yeah.
you create something that's scalable, a digital asset, right? Or a written asset. And then because of the quality of what you created, it self-perpetuates and sells itself.
Yep.
Okay. True passive income.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Remember when did you watch the movie? It came out like last year, Tetris, and it was about the whole story between like the US and Russia, because a guy in Russia made Tetris and they were trying to sell rights to it. And it was it was kind of intense. For like a movie about a video game, you're like, holy crap. I mean, countries were going after it back and forth. Like, who has rights to it? Like, because it was even the guy, I think, that was trying to get the rights. He was based in China, right? But then there was like a U.S. company trying to get it.
Yeah,
and Russia was involved.
Nintendo was trying to get it, and it was like a whole thing, and like they didn't actually sell the rights, and it.
Oh yeah,
very good movie.
It becomes super valuable when people realize over time that like this is popular, this is going to stay popular, right? So that becomes a highly thought over asset. When it's not highly thought over when the guy created it, right? Yeah. But now it's highly, So good.
Yeah.
We talked about farmland leases.
Yep.
Okay. Now there's work to be done in between when you got to renew leases, right? There's work to be done, and there's risk, right? On like, is something valued at that time, right? If China and Russia are no longer buying, and Japan aren't buying cherries because of tariffs from us, right? Like, how much value does that cherry orchard have at that time, right? There's risk, a timing risk, right?
Yep.
But very passive.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So like with real estate, right? So in real estate, are you almost stacking the tiers? So like if you buy the land, you have tier 1, which is the land to have the building. And then if you build the building on it, now you have tier 2. So like, are you almost integrating like is that why real estate can be so beneficial, and why if it's done right and done well that people get super wealthy off that, because you're owning more of those like high level tiers?
Vertical integration of the tiers. I would agree with that. I think the land is the most passive piece, right?
Yeah.
You hear about families doing the ground leases in New York, right? They're building like 100 level skyscrapers, but they don't own their land, right? They're building a $1 billion skyscraper, but they don't even own the piece of dirt under it, right?
Yeah.
Some old family does. Okay.
Well, I remember like growing up, my grandpa had always said he had a friend who he's like, this friend got like super rich, and it's because their family owned like 30 acres in this like random part of Northwest Indiana, and it was right by a busy road, and like maybe 40 years ago they just developed it all. And this guy made so much money because he owned all those acres and he just sold it all, and they're loaded because of that.
Loaded. So, but here's the thing: if you hold the land and retain it, okay, it's passive.
Yep.
Okay, relatively, it's one of our highest, most true passive. The problem is the amount of money you're going to get for renting that land. Let's say it's like 6% of value or something, right? But if you sell it, you're getting 100% of value.
Yeah.
So you got to be okay with receiving 1/20th of the value per year versus 20 times up front. Okay.
Yep.
And most people don't have that sophisticated long-term mindset. And most of them don't have the critical mass. It's much easier when you own like 34 acres. Okay. Let's say he didn't sell it, right? Let's say it was like prime land. And he's like, well, I could get $100 million check, right? Or I could get a $5 million check a year. Okay. When it's that size of scale, it's much easier to say, I'll take the $5 million a year. What would I do with $100 million anyways?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And, but most people, it's not an event like that. Most people, it's like, hey, do I want to get 200 grand a year? Right. Or, $4 million.
Well, that's probably relating that. That's probably more like in dental, right? And I think that's what the space a lot of us are in, right? Like you've built a practice, and most people aren't selling their practices for $100 million, right? It's probably in that lower part, and it's like, do you want to keep on making $200,000 or $300,000 a year or more, right? If you own a decent practice, or do you want to sell it for $5 or $6 million?
The math is the same, but the work and passivity is the opposite, right? Dentistry is so freaking hard on us mentally and physically, right? That we're electing the $4 million every time almost, right? Unless you just love dentistry. But yes.
Can you think of is there a harder industry or business or than dental? Have you found one that you're like, just for the amount of, you make a lot of money, right? Which is good, but for the amount of stress and
I think investment banking, the numbers are much bigger and you can make a lot more, but I think that's super stressful when people end up in the hospital from investment banking, right? They get burnt out. Dentists just kill themselves or get to drinking and then kill themselves. Very common, right? All the time we hear about dentists who off themselves, and a lot of time they start with the alcohol, right?
Yeah.
They just keep hitting it. And it's the interesting thing is it's not always active dentists, right? We see this the negative health effects of dentistry and the stress, right? It doesn't go away when you retire. You see lots of dentists in the first 5 years after retirement fall apart, right? Commit suicide. And they're not even in their practice anymore, right? But the constant stress over the years, managing all the team members, patients' expectations, the drug abuse, the alcohol abuse, it changes our neurons, it changes how our brains function, and often it makes us better in many ways, right? High achievers, but yeah, it's serious stuff. So I think that's why it's so attractive to us, right? Most people are like, oh, my job, I don't love it, but it's not that hard, right? So they're not fantasizing about passive income because they don't want to kill themselves. Because it's so hard, right?
That is a good point. Maybe we do that more as dentists. Is like you're saying, you're not really content, right? Because you're so you're just like, how do I make this passive? That happened to me, right? When we had the two practices, I came to you, and that was the whole reason on selling. I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is killing me. And you're like, how do I do nothing, right? You go from I am doing so much and going 100% to how do I go from that to 0? Because I just want to do 0 right now. So yeah, that is a good point. Maybe that is why dentists tend to fantasize or kind of get maybe sold on go passive, just go passive.
Yeah, we're an easy sell because we're like, yeah, absolutely. I'll put it in stocks. Someone told me I'm going to get a return. I'm good with that. Put my money anywhere. Just get me out of this chair.
Yeah, but then we also get, I feel like, I don't know if scam's the right word, but can get sold to pretty easily on, but Go ahead, Josh.
No, I'm here's
Waiting.
your pain point. Let me push on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me do this, whether or not, yeah. So, but I mean, with a lot of the passive investments, so then do you consider like, okay, if we did something like with you, right? Like you've transitioned from active dentist / active dental business owner, right? To now going into more like active in real estate and real estate development. Um, how passive is it someone like myself or Alex who aren't in real estate but are almost like leeching on to someone who owns an active business and is trying to get passive income that way?
Yeah. This is one of the key points here. A lot of these things are passive if you have a who that is managing it for you, right? Then it becomes passive. But then you're completely reliant on that who.
Oh, it's the risk,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like that's the thing I think we
again, like that is the whole thing. It's like, who do I rely on to make money for me? Me.
Yeah.
I know that I can make money. Get me in the chair, get me in whatever business, I'll make money. That's fine.
100%.
But it's like putting your money with someone else. That is the biggest risk.
Well, and I think too, you have to have different expectations. Like you said, Alex or I are one person removed. If you're the active person doing the real estate development, I would hope to God you're making more money than we are doing it as being investors with you. I mean, obviously you want to do well for your investors, but just like if I ran a dental business and I was running it, if I had someone investing with me, like in my practice, if I'm the who on it, I'm the one that is reliant on everyone. Like I have the most amount of risk, right? And it's all kind of on me.
Yep.
I don't know.
100%.
That was my thought. I don't know where I was going with
I
that.
don't trust anyone as much as I trust a successful dental practice owner. Right?
Yeah.
Because I know they eat shit, right, every day, and they continue to perform, right?
Yeah.
I have this bias, and I think you already mentioned it in this episode, where other professions don't eat shit like we eat shit.
Yeah.
Right? So like I trust you, and I trust you more than I trust 99.9% of other people, even if they're successful. Right? Oh, this person's a really successful insurance broker. In my brain, I'm like, okay, yeah, they probably have some good habits, but are they as strong as a dental practice
Have they
owner?
owned a dental practice? Yeah.
But,
yeah.
But that goes back to like
bias, right? I mean, there's bias here, right? I know I'm
Totally.
being biased, but I'm biased. Like I'm biased towards entrepreneurial, successful dentists. I believe if they continue to keep up that grit that got him here, I believe in them for the next.
So yeah, what do you
Totally.
think with that? Because
Yeah.
I feel like what we do too is in dentists, and we're guilty of it. I mean, I guess you even argue you're guilty of it, right? You say like, I was a successful dentist. I ate a lot of shit. I know what I'm doing. Now I'm going to go do something else. Now, are you saying that like because you've almost gone through the ringer on stuff and you've came through on the other side that it not that it doesn't matter, but your ability to be successful in a totally different venture may be increased because of the skills you've learned from being a dental practice owner?
100% if you maintain the grit, focus, and commitment.
So if you continue to eat shit, yeah.
If you compete, willing.
Yeah.
But the difference here that I've learned for myself is I didn't like eating shit in dental. I didn't like the HR conversations. Just show up to work. I didn't like the lack of like caring about the patient in front of you, right? Like the assistant or somebody. Like, what the hell? Do you even care about this person? Did you even call about their lab case? Like they're expecting a crown today. Like you didn't even call about their lab case. Do you care about this person? Like I didn't like those conversations. Okay.
Yep.
But the shit I eat on the real estate development side, I like. Okay. We have an easement problem. We have a zoning problem. We have an allocation of resource problem, right? Like, how are we going to stack our money and who are we going to bring in to stack that money and like creative problem solving? I love those problems.
Yep.
Okay. So what I found was, we've talked about this before, passion and proficiency, right? You need to be focused on stuff you're really good at and you really like. Okay. Everything else needs to be delegated. So for me, the only reason I'm a good Sherpa on this real estate stuff is because I really like it and I'm really good at it. Right? So I can keep up that commitment. But dude, if there's like, being really good at something can only get you so far, right? You've seen like sports players who are like so good, but they just don't care, right? So they don't end up being all-stars. Right?
Well, yeah. Look at like the whole like. Did you ever watch was it the 30 for 30 or one of those on like Johnny Manziel? Right, when he was huge, right, in football, and that was before all like the NIL stuff. But like he was I don't know if you know this or not, Alex, but he was like a big college football quarterback for. I think he was A&M, right? He played in Texas, or was he Texas Tech? He was. I don't know. He might have been A&M.
He was good,
but he like he might have won the Heisman too, but he was huge. He also, though, was like a big partier, and he liked to go out a lot, and he liked that lifestyle. And when he got to the NFL, he kind of said in his thing, like he likes football a lot, but he also just played kind of like backyard football and not really structured and didn't have the same work ethic that a lot of these other guys had who were also talented. And then when the talent pool kind of closed and everyone was like elite, he just like fizzled out really fast.
Interesting.
100%. So, okay, let's go full circle. He'll kind of wrap this up.
So what I've heard is that when you have, like, you cash out with your practice, let's say, or you have extra money, and you're like, all right, my goal is to have this passive income. Don't put it in stocks. Pretty much just have to buy land. Like buy land or buy some kind of natural resource.
Well, like what's realistic too for a dentist?
Yeah.
Like, what I guess we can top it off on this episode, and we can always do like a part 2 on it. But like, what would you say to someone who's like, I'm going to sell my practice? What should I like? And I know you're not a financial planner, so let's just say all that too, right?
Disclosure, blah blah blah.
But yeah, what would you say?
So there's some disillusionment here. Okay. So yes, a dentist is most likely not going to write a song after they retire that creates passive income. Maybe write a book, right? So you it's not like realistic for a dentist. Okay. You can invest in cell towers, billboard leases, oil and gas, those types of things, but they're passive, more like passive industries. Like you don't have to trade time for dollars, just like insurance or financial planning. But you do need to become an expert at them to do well on them. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I totally agree with that.
Okay. And I'm not against stocks. They're liquid, right? And they tend to go up 8% on average before inflation, right?
Yep.
You got to watch out for inflation because it's 8% minus inflation over time. Okay. I think the idea here is, here's the idea. I'm going to talk a little bit about diversification, and then I'm going to talk about real estate and how actual cash flow gets created in real estate. Okay. So diversification, if you're not active, okay, active is how you make money, how you grow your money. Okay. Diversification is how you preserve your money.
Yep.
Even look at Buffett. Like most of his gains were like 4 companies. Okay. So even if you're a diversified portfolio like his, like it's still like how you make your money is in the niches, the focus, being good at something.
We all know Eric wants more friends. If you're enjoying this episode, share the podcast and then tell them to DM Eric so he can hit his quota of 1 new friend per day. Now back to the episode.
Okay. So family offices, their average return, okay, they hire sophisticated people, right? 100, 200 million, $1 billion family office. They hire smart attorneys, like smart financial folks. They run models. They reduce risk. Guess the average return of a family office.
Okay, just based on what you've said, I'm going to guess it's lower than, I'm going to say 5%.
Yeah, good guess. So 7%. It's kind of the research. Okay. So it's not even better than the stock market, right? Than the index fund. Stock market's everything. So diversity preserves capital. Okay. So if the smartest, richest people are only getting a 7% return, diversity preserves wealth. Okay. It just causes you to not lose your wealth.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so you're making your money in dentistry, you're growing your practice, you sell your practice, you get cash. Okay? What happens is everybody needs cash to live. And everybody gets used to accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Okay? 300 grand a year, right? Whatever that number is to live, to support their family. And so, yes, you can sell your practice, get a nest egg, reinvest it, but you're not going to be able to create the cash flow to live off of. Okay,
That's where the scam is.
That's where I think the big disconnect between everyone is, or at least between us when we sold it was like you're going to get this much money and then you
live
good.
off that and you're good.
Yeah.
Nope.
Lies.
Why? So if dentistry is your true passion, you just don't want to manage anymore, right? Go work as like a high producing associate, make $300K to $500K as a general dentist somewhere else for somebody else, right?
Sure.
Yep.
Or, I do my epic year every year, right? You've heard me. We'll talk more about this. I'm going to launch it again October 15th through December 15th. Okay, this is the number one impactful thing I do every year, where I go through reflections of my prior year, set goals for like the 12 freedoms of my life, like very specific goals on what I want to hit. Okay, and part of that is identify where I'm spending my time, and is this in my passions and proficiency zone? If it's not, stuff gets booted. Okay, but that allowed me to get very clear on what I love doing and what I'm good at, and very good at saying no. Okay, so most people would not be like running a 160 team member dental group, work their butt off to get there, and then I'm good, I'm done, right? Right?
Yeah.
Like that was easy for me because I knew exactly who I was and what I was passionate about. Okay, so one piece is figure out what you're good at and what you're passionate about. Okay, so how are you going to create that income post selling your practice if you're ready to do that, being a dentist or something else that can create income? The second thought here is cash flow. When people come to me and say, hey, I'm really interested in cash flow, do you have anything with strong cash flow? I have things maybe that are moderate cash flow, some gems, some hidden gems, okay, every once in a while, but real cash flow is created with time in real estate.
Okay, explain that. Yeah.
And so the avatar you always want to think of, okay, is the wealthiest people in our country. Like if you think about not like individual wealthy, but as a group, okay, are 70 to 80-year-old widows. Okay. People always joke, how do I get rich quick? Marry a widow. Okay. So this is what happens. Okay. Somebody spends, their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, maybe their 60s building up a real estate portfolio. Okay. Historically, it's been male, right? But more and more female now too. But historically male. This guy passes away at 60. Okay. Let's say his wife's 60. When they first started doing those real estate deals, and when you run numbers, anything like online that's listed, you run like the returns, it's often like negative 2%, 0%, 2%. The returns are terrible cash-wise, right? You have to go through hundreds and hundreds just to find like a 5, 6, 7% cash-on-cash return. Okay. But, you taking the proceeds from selling your dental practice, 7% return in cash isn't going to feed your family.
Yeah.
Okay. But what happens? I'll use multifamily, so that's like the most common. Okay, the easiest one to understand. So you buy a 100-unit apartment building. Okay, your cash on cash, you put down, let's say, 100-unit apartment building. That's probably right now an older one. Let's just say 20 million. Okay, an older one's 20 million. Okay. Your cash on cash, you have to put in $5 million to buy it. Okay. So, let's see. Let's say $5 million, 500 grand, 250 grand in cash flow. Okay. So if you have 5 million, you can get 250 grand in cash flow from this apartment.
So it's 5%.
Okay.
That's 5%.
5%, right? That's just easy math. Okay.
Yep.
But what happens is, when you buy it, you refi with agency debt. Okay, this is like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and HUD. Okay. These are government, even if they're not government owned anymore, they're government sponsored, backed programs.
Okay.
Those are 30 to 35 year, up to 40 if it's development, fixed loans, fixed interest rate loans.
Yep.
Okay. So, and they're lower interest rates, usually about 100 basis points less than like another loan you would get. Okay.
Okay.
So lower interest rate, long-term fixed. 20 years from now, okay, your 5% cash flow, on average, say rents and expenses go up 3%. Okay. Your fixed rate debt payment 20 years from now is going to be exactly the same as it is today.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Going to create massive amounts of cash flow for you. Mm-hmm. 2, if you think about the other revenue that isn't towards debt, okay, that isn't paid towards debt, the rest of the revenue on your apartment building, usually 2/3 of the revenue from an apartment building, I'm trying to think of the simplest way to say it, 2/3 you get a keep and use to service debt. 1/3 goes to expenses, paying the property manager, paying utilities. Okay.
Gotcha.
So if you think about 2/3 and 1/3, both of them are growing by 3% a year, compounding.
Yep.
Right? But 2/3 is going to compound much faster and larger than the 1/3.
Yeah. Are you saying like 1/3 is like, once you take out that 1/3, 2/3 left is gross profit? Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Yeah, let me try to do this simplest one more time, and I apologize. I didn't do it the best. If your revenue every month is $100,000,
okay,
1/3 of that, roughly, could be less, could be more if you suck at managing. 1/3 of that goes to expenses, paying the property manager, utilities, all those.
So now you have like 66,000 left.
Yeah.
Okay. 2/3 is what's left.
Okay.
Okay. If you take the 1/3, you compound it by 1.03, so 3% a year for 20 years, you're going to get a number. And I would do that if we had a little more time. And then you take the 2/3 of that $100,000.
Yeah.
You compound that at 3% a year, it's going to be a much larger number.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And out of that 2/3, you do have to pay the debt down.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
But
it's fixed. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fixed.
So that doesn't. Yeah.
So you get the more.
20 years from now, right? As long as population grows, okay? You got to go back to the fundamentals, like the timber, right? The actual wood. As long as population grows, this thing, and the neighborhood doesn't turn into the ghetto or something, right?
Yeah, or there's some natural disaster and something. Yeah.
Just the simplest model here. After 20 years, this thing's going to cash flow like an absolute beast, right? After 10 years, it's going to cash flow way better, right? Like great. But that first 5 years, right? You're 5%, 5.5%, 6%, right? So you need to be doing something for that first 5-10 years, whatever your passion and proficiency is, you need to be earning income.
Okay.
Totally. You got to wait out the time, and because you're not getting that check in the mail, you're paying the loan, you're paying the expenses, you got nothing else coming in. You have to have another plan.
You have some cash coming in, right? But it's not going to feed the family.
Yeah. So when you
totally,
so when you sell your practice, and if you said, "Hey, I'm going to go do real estate," or I'm going to tag along to someone with real estate and they're starting stuff, you got to think, this is going to start cash flowing 5 years. What am I doing for 5 years after I sell my practice to still make some money so I can still like support my family, do that, and then maybe I can transition more out versus just like a quick like snap of the fingers and it's done.
Yep.
And I think the mindset, like Paul Etchison, I love that guy. Him and I chat about this. Like we're very like esoteric, philosophical when we get together. Is you're always going to be doing something, right? Because if you don't, you just melt away and die.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're always going to be doing something, and it's either something you're going to get paid for, something, right? You are going to have an income, or you're going to do nonprofit stuff and not get paid. But that's a choice, and you can make that choice when you have enough income, right? So don't assume you're not going to have an income for the rest of your life. Okay. It may not be a dental income, right? But you may become an insurance broker. You may become a financial planner. Like do your reflections every year. Find out who you are. Find out what you're passionate now about, right? Maybe you were passionate about becoming a dentist, or it just sounded interesting, right? Maybe you still want to be a dentist, but know thyself and build an income somewhere else that feels better to you, that makes you happy, right? That makes you a good father, that makes you a good mom, a good wife, right? Like be that career for a while. And the more you know yourself, the more likely that career is going to be your next and your final, right? Yeah. But if you don't really know yourself, you're going to bounce around quite a bit post dentistry. So try to know yourself, try to find the best fit for yourself, feed your family, invest in things that are going to cash flow long term, right? Not just things that go up in value because you're hoping other people will value them in the future, right? Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Invest in things that actually create real cash flow. Land, timber, apartments, long term. Good?
Yeah, I think that was a great, like, putting the icing
wrapping
on the
it
cake
all
on
up.
That.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Josh. Whenever you come on, we always like half the time we're just sitting there with our mouths open.
I know, we learn
like,
so much.
I don't really have, like, in a good way, right? Because like you're teaching so much to us. You do a very good job of that, of like teaching people things. And so like half the time I feel like I'll finish an episode with you and I'm like, I really talk a lot, and it's like, oh, that's just because I was like listening in on what he had to say, and it actually was super valuable. So you're always welcome on, because it's so much fun to have you on and just talk about anything.
Yep.
Thanks for giving me a platform to spout my thoughts. Yes, if anyone wants to learn more, we have a Facebook group, Dental Real Estate Partners, and we're on there answering questions and helping folks, achieve their vision and whatever that is for their own lives. And feel free also reach out anytime to me, and happy to help folks. Good.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much.